I'm Dr. Revels, and you're listening to the REVELSations podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, we're all family and friends here, so you can call me Rev. Since we are all family and friends, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell an enemy that you are listening to the REVELSations podcast. The topic of today's verse is tolerable acceptance. Tolerable acceptance. Let's get into some dictionary definitions like we like to do here on the REVELSations podcast so we're all on the same page. The first definition is going to be accept, to accept. A lot of definitions for accept. It first means to agree to take something. I accept something, you want to give me something, I agree to take it. That's not really the definition that we're looking for because we want to talk about relationships when it comes to accepting. To say yes to an offer or an invitation. Okay, that's a little bit closer. You want to date somebody, you want to marry somebody, or that's like relationally, or in business, you make a job offer to somebody or something like that, and they say yes to the offer or the invitation. A little warmer, but not quite it. Let's get to the third definition of the same word, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, and that is to consider something or someone satisfactory. Okay, to consider someone or something satisfactory. And then we go to the definition of satisfactory, which is good or good enough for a particular need or purpose. So I consider you good enough. This is good enough. I'm satisfied with this. This is good enough. And we're talking about tolerable acceptance. So we need the word tolerate, which is the root of the word tolerable. To tolerate is allow to exist or to occur or to practice something, something that one dislikes or disagrees with without interference. So that means that you allow it to exist, you allow it to happen, you don't like it, but you don't interfere with it. And I talked about tolerable acceptance. Let's get to it. There's a difference between tolerate and accept because it sort of sounds like they're the same. Accept and tolerate both involve enduring something, but they differ in the depth of engagement by the underlining attitude, the way you respond to it. So to accept means to acknowledge and agree with the situation, while tolerate means to put up with something without necessarily agreeing to it or supporting it. Or in other words, accepting means you agree to it gladly. You agree to it and you say that it is satisfactory in nature versus tolerate. You really don't like it, but you allow it. So I have a question for you. I want you to look at your relationships, romantic relationships, relationships with friends, relationships with coworkers, relationships in the world. And do you have more relationships where you are accepting of others, or do you have relationships where you are tolerating others? And I would argue that we do both. But within that argument, I would much rather be accepted than tolerated. Let's get to it. So, in romantic relationships, that's the easiest one to come after. I think probably the reason that so many romantic relationships fail is simply because we're terrible at picking people in the first place. We're terrible at picking partners. Marriage rates are super low, divorce rates are really high, where people are getting together saying that they will be married forever, and 1 year, 2 years in, it falls apart. And I believe that the primary reason is they didn't pick the right person. I don't know if the vetting process wasn't good enough, or the person was hiding who they really were, or whatever it is, but the picking of the person probably led to the end of the relationship from the outset, from the jump. Probably was never going to be a successful relationship. But another part of that is that we try to tolerate people instead of accepting people. We say, I want people to accept us as we are, which is great. But are we willing to truly accept people as they are instead of just tolerate them? And remember, to tolerate is to allow the existence or the occurrence of something that you dislike, but you allow it without interference. And I think oftentimes we partner ourselves both romantically, sometimes even in friendships, and definitely in work relationships where we have to tolerate something because we want that person around or we need that job or whatever it is, and we tolerate it. And I honestly think that eventually we're going to come to our wits' end and we're not going to be able to tolerate it anymore. We're not going to have that tolerance for it to be able to allow it to exist without interference. Because at the end of the day, we are all emotional creatures, some more than others. But if we're only tolerating and not accepting and not gladly having that person in your life with joy and happiness and truly accepting who they are, then it's going to be really hard to maintain a relationship with them. Remember, to accept something fully is to not only to agree to take it on, right? Not only to agree to take it on, but to consider something or someone satisfactory or good enough. You consider them. So I don't necessarily think that we can consider those that we tolerate acceptable or satisfactory, I should say. I don't think that we should. So I think we need to align ourselves with people that we can accept and not tolerate. And more than that, I think we need to graduate from only tolerating things to accepting things. Now, I'll admit, some things are super hard to tolerate, both romantically and business and friends, etc. And you may not agree with it, but while you're not tolerating or you're not agreeing with that thing, how many things do you have in your life that people are not agreeing with as well? And they're tolerating it. And if they are tolerating those things, how good do you feel about just being tolerated? The actions that you have just being tolerated, because oftentimes we are so aligned with what we do and we're so aligned with what we think. And we don't want people just to tolerate us. We want people to accept us. Well, let me speak just for me. I know I love being accepted. I'm a different kind of guy. I don't do things that most people do. I grew up, and I like one of my superpowers is peer pressure doesn't really affect me. So I grew up, had friends that would go out and do things that normal teenagers would do, party, drink, smoke, etc. And I just wouldn't do it. And some people would bring me along and they would tolerate the fact that I was not doing this. Well, you can hang out just because we want you around, but we're going to tolerate it. But I had a couple of friends, and they know who they are, that truly accepted it. So they like me being around. The other people didn't like me being around because they thought I was a buzzkill. No, I wasn't telling people not to partake in whatever they wanted to do, but the fact that I wasn't enjoying it as well, they only tolerated that behavior. And I noticed something, that the people who accepted me way back when for what I did and who I am, we're still friends to this day. Those people who only tolerated me, those relationships, those friendships fell apart very soon because I don't believe one can truly keep up tolerating someone and truly be happy. So let's go out of the realm of family and friends. Let's go out of the realm of relationships. Let's go out of the realm of jobs, and let's go into our society. And while racism exists and while sexism exists and while all these other isms exist, it exists because we're tolerating people instead of accepting them. And when we tolerate something instead of accepting it, I think deep down inside, we're feeling like we know better or we have a better way of doing it than our counterparts. They should be doing it the way that we say that they should be doing it. And that's super dangerous. That's super dangerous to tell someone to live their lives according to your rubric, according to the way you see life should be lived. And when you do that, and you think they should be or think or act or do the way that you think or act or do or you're being, and they're not, and you're like, I'm not going to fight them on it. I'm just going to tolerate it. Remember, I'm going to allow it without necessarily enjoying it. I'm going to have it in my life, but I don't necessarily want it to be in my life. And that's tolerating. And that's why we're having so much upheaval and so many problems in our world where people are arguing with one another all the time because there's no true acceptance. But in actuality, we all want to be accepted and we don't want to be tolerated. We want our differences to be appreciated. We want our differences to be seen as satisfactory or good enough. But I would ask, if you want to be accepted, then why are you only tolerating another? If you want your course of action to be accepted, why are you only tolerating another course of action? Is it because you think you have everything right? And if you do think you have everything right, why? Why do you think you have everything right? Do you ever question yourself? Do you ever question why you think the way you think? Who fed you those thoughts? Who fed you those feelings? We are a combination of our experiences, our cultures, and our own personalities. But we are only one of billions of people on this earth. So, how can we then tell other people how to live? How can we then say what you're doing isn't necessarily right, as long as it's not hurting other people? As long as, like, if it's not physically hurting other people, and I understand there's emotional abuse and things. I'm speaking more on the day-to-day activity. So if I, using my example with my friends, if I didn't want to drink, was that really hurting them? But no, because I wasn't participating in the same act that they were participating in. They didn't like it. They would tolerate me being around. But why did they think drinking was the better way? I accepted the fact that they drink. Did I think that they probably shouldn't? Sure, but I accepted the fact that they do so because I had this level of I want to be accepted. And I know I'm supposed to do unto others as I would want them to do unto me, not as they do unto me. That is the bronze rule. The golden rule is to do unto others as you would like for them or that you want them to do unto you. So if I want to be accepted, I need to accept others, because if I only tolerate others, I can only expect others to tolerate me. And it has to start with us. It has to start on the inside. You know, there's a cliche out there, be the change that you want to see. Well, I think that starts actually within our heart. And it's coming to accepting people from different races, accepting people from different cultures, accepting people from different ideologies. We don't all have to agree on the same thing, but we can accept and enjoy and consider the person, or even the act. Well, maybe not even the act. Consider the person good. Consider the person, you know what? I don't necessarily agree with that, but I accept you. I said in a previous episode, we say things like, I don't agree with you. We need to change that with, I don't agree with that, because I can still agree with you as a person, but I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying in this particular thing. And I can accept you as a person instead of just tolerating. So if we look at our relationships and why relationships are falling apart, if we're looking at our jobs and why people are the great resignation, why people are quitting, why bosses are frustrated with their workforce, because oftentimes they're just accepting people. Oftentimes they're just tolerating people instead of accepting people. And if we were to accept them and see them as good and satisfactory, something that can be considered good and satisfactory, instead of just tolerating the people where we're allowing the occurrence. And to tolerate people, we don't necessarily agree or support it. We don't necessarily like it, but we're going to keep them around just because they're benefiting us in some type of way. That's always going to end in a messed up situation, in a tragic situation. Either the relationship is going to end, or people are going to be so disgruntled with one another that they cannot live peaceably and happily with one another. So do you accept or tolerate? Let me know. Drop a comment. Thank you again for listening to the REVELSations podcast. I am because we are. Hallelujah. Holla back. Peace.
Yeah, the revelations now televised. A platform for you and I, an outlook with full heart and clear eyes. Now, these are just my thoughts. Truth on how I feel on these topics I reveal. Please know my toll, I always keep it real. Can't face the word if you can't face facts. For your time, just open up your mind. That's it, just live, think big, now take that. With God in me, this here was made by design. Yeah, the revelation will be televised. REVELSations.